Welcome back, Buccaneers fans, to another episode of Hear the Cannons, presented by BucsGameday.com, Sports Illustrated's one and only website strictly dedicated to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My name is Caleb Skinner at CHS Noel on X. I am a writer and reporter here for BucsGameday.com. Along with me, as always, is our lead editor over at BucsGameday, River Wells, at River H. Wells on X. I missed last week. Unfortunately, I was extremely ill under the weather. I think there's something going around down here in Florida, but you guys were able to stick through it and watch our founder, Logan Robinson, here with River. But game one under our belt now, not necessarily the prettiest of wins, but a win nonetheless, especially an early NFC South bout that we had against the Atlanta Falcons. They swept us last year, started off the season strong here, 1-0. Close game, offensive coordinator Josh Gazard's debut, rookie Emeka Egbuka, his rookie debut, which was fantastic. Some news coming down from Jamel Dean over the week as well. And then Haason Reddick picked up his first sack. Were kind of the highlights from that game. But River, just real quick, let's go ahead and recap this game. What you were able to see, what you didn't like, what you did like, and some positives to take away from it now that we're going to be heading into week 2 against the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that was a close one. Based on how my flight schedule was going out of Atlanta, if Young Hoku does hit that kick, I am missing my flight back to Tampa Bay. So that was a positive. Rough, man. That was rough. I thought neither team looked particularly thrilling during that contest. You would hope that it's preseason jitters of not playing a lot of reps. Michael Penix didn't play a lot of reps. Baker Mayfield didn't play a lot of reps in preseason, or any for that matter. But it's interesting to count on that being the reason. So we'll see how that goes. But started off with a pretty rough first half. Got it a little bit together in the second half. I thought Baker Mayfield had some absolute dots, but otherwise one of his poorer games as a Buccaneer.
Yeah,
so I think I think he will want to improve on that going forward. Offensive line did decent for what had happened. I was pretty against that move pretty firmly when they announced the offensive line switch, but they only gave up 1 sack. Looked pretty decent, so that's why they're football coaches and we're talking about them. Defense looked okay. I think it's a lot of work to do, particularly up the middle of the field. Could be a little bit better. So we'll see how that goes, but they got the W. They got the win. They're 1-0 up in the NFC South, and there is a contingent of people saying it don't matter how you get them. It does kind of matter how you get them. If you play that way going forward, you're not going to win a lot of football games. So got to shake the rust off. Got to get better. Got to improve. Emeka Egbuka looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Yada Diaby bringing the pressure, so didn't quite get some sacks. Haason Reddick looked really good too. We'll talk about all that. But overall, shaky day at the office that resulted in a win, I think.
Yeah, let's expound on the offensive side of the ball here real quick. Baker Mayfield, as mentioned, shaky day. Not his best performance by any means. Looked a little rattled. Not possibly being because of that offensive line shuffle. He doesn't have his guy Tristan Wirfs in there, and he's got guys in different areas. A new center that he's taking snaps from in Bredesen. So he can understand that too. And he was able to come back and throw 3 touchdowns, as our guy Marcel, our regular viewer in here, Baker Mayfield, who's rusty in Atlanta, and threw 3 touchdowns. So now he is dangerous.
Is he waking up feeling that way? I don't know.
Right. And the run game will tell the story. I agree. The run game, not necessarily what we were looking for there either.
No. Pretty brutal, I think, on that department too. Bucky Irving getting a lot of usage, not getting too much in the run game there. So that's another thing that, Tristan Wirfs has never been, super vaunted for his run blocking, but he's still a very good run blocker. So having that chemistry and people in the right place might be able to fix that. But Bucs are going to a major league gap scheme run game, which it took them half a season to do that last year. So I think that's a good start. And as long as they can kind of keep getting back to that sort of thing and kind of get a feel for it going forward, maybe the run game will improve.
Yeah. And then I'm sure the game plan, coming into it for Atlanta was, let's just force them to throw the ball. If we can stop their running game, force them to throw the ball. Baker's without Chris Godwin. He's going to be, and Jalen McMillan, he's going to be relying a lot on a rookie. But that rookie ended up showing up. That rookie ended up doing what, we all thought he should be able to do once he was drafted, becoming a polished guy, entering the Buccaneers organization. especially with Chris being down, and then with McMillan going down, he's going to be out for more than half of the season. He just he showed up in a big way, and he called game. So
he did. He said he was going to game one. He did. You got to love that from Emeka Egbuka, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how high his floor is. You expect a guy like that to be really, really polished heading into his first NFL game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't expect a guy like that to be calling his shots in week one of his NFL career. So, very good wide receiver. Got some good separation. Very polished route runner, and he clearly knows his matchups, right? So, he identified a weakness in that matchup with the Atlanta Falcons. He asked Josh Gazard and Baker Mayfield to take advantage of it. They did. And he called a game. So, very good game from him. Honestly, we could talk about this a little bit more later, but if you're talking about NFC Player of the Week, guys, J.J. McCarthy won that for the offense. I would probably have given it to Emeka Egbuka instead, I think. 2 touchdowns, 67 yards. Hell of a debut for the rookie. Big contributor in Tampa Bay's win. And he got his.
Yeah, those quarterbacks are always going to get the love. We know that, but absolutely.
I just like to point out, guys, Emeka Egbuka caught as many touchdowns as J.J. McCarthy threw, and Emeka Egbuka also didn't throw a pick six. So that's probably where I would.
There's your argument.
Yeah, that's my argument. Yeah.
But
sorry, Vikings fans, if you're watching, what are you doing here? But sorry.
That was an awesome game. It was a poo-pooer through like 3 quarters, and it turned out to be good. But back to our Bucs here. Offense looks good. I think it took them some time to get in rhythm. I think, Grizz was trying to get acclimated a little bit. First game on the road in Atlanta. Sounded like the crowd was pretty fired up to be there, even though there were a decent amount of Bucs fans. Throwing the shuffling of the offensive line, rookies, running game not necessarily being there where you want it to be. And I think the defense did a pretty bang-up job. I think there could have been more touchdowns for Atlanta, specifically on 2 plays that Jamel Dean was involved in. And we'll get to him a little bit later because there's kind of a writing in the wall when it comes to, his future as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But overall, I think they did okay. Seeing the pressures is good. Haason Reddick probably could have had more than just his 1 sack. Yaya continued to get pressure. But I think the most glaring observation from the whole thing is what was the sirvocea Dennis doing out there for about half of the game, man? It just looked like he was running around playing tag, not in the right spot.
It was tough, man. It was tough.
Trying not to make tackles. I think in one clip. So touch on the defense for us a little bit, especially there with Boss.
Yeah, so the thing about sirvocea Dennis is that he did have a bit of an improved 4th quarter. A lot of those improvements he made were in his run-stuffing game, and he did do some really good things, helping stuff Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, right? The only thing I would say to that to counteract is that that's basically what KJ Britt did when he was here, right? And being able to stop the run is very good, and sirvocea Dennis clearly is a high-motor guy who can get to the gap. But you got to be able to cover. And you really have to be able to cover in this Todd Bowles defense when Lavonte David is as old as he is. Lavonte David's instincts are still fantastic. Coverage linebacker, one of the best coverage linebackers to ever play football, right? But he's slowing down in his old age, in double-digit NFL seasons. And you got a little bit of that when, he tried to clip Bijan Robinson at the 10-yard line there and couldn't quite do it. And you need a young, athletic coverage linebacker who can really be able to cover. And I think sirvocea Dennis stumbled a bit in that instance. He did get out-athleted, as Todd Bowles said, with Bijan Robinson, and it's true. Him in open space, not great, but got to take a better angle there. He let up another running back pass when he bit, and then had to reconnect. And then the play that Caleb is talking about here is that when Michael Penix went to go out on a rollout, sirvocea Dennis went to go tackle him and pulled up at the last second, despite the fact that Penix was already a runner, was diving. He, I guess, gave himself up, but he also fumbled. I'm still not entirely sure how that sequence of NFL rules kind of conflicts with each other there. But that's another thing where you just hope it's first game rust. There's no way to tell if it is first game rust or if now that he is playing on every down, some of the lack of some of the weaknesses in his game, I should say, are kind of coming out. They did, to Damian Schiller on Facebook here, they did briefly bench him with Deion Jones after he gave up that second big running back pass when he bit on the flat. They put him back in. So Deion Jones is behind him. They're going to have to figure that out. You're going to hope that Sirvocea Dennis can take that talent that we know he has and that sort of high motor and that sort of aggressive play style and be able to cover better, be able to get the assignments down better, be able to play better. I thought if you look back at Haason Reddick's tape, he was everywhere. He was absolutely everywhere. He was constantly facilitating pressure. He got 1 sack, but him and Yaya were both getting to the quarterback pretty well. Michael Penix is pretty slippery. But man, in my opinion, if you say that about a quarterback to not sack them, other teams make it work, right? So you have to make it work, don't you? You have to find a way to bring them down. And there were plenty of instances where they missed the opportunity to do so. They couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But overall, I think those two were pretty stout on the defensive line, especially against a battered Houston offensive line. Could pay dividends on Monday. And then the secondary did pretty well for the most part. There's been some controversy with how Jamel Dean played. Some people have been giving him credit for playing in man. Some people not so much. I think Dean is a little timid off the ball sometimes from what I saw personally. And you get a lot of instances where when he's covering a guy in the flat or you get a curl route on him, he's always tackling him right after he gets to the ball. And there appears to be something going on with him there that we'll talk about after this. But whether you do or do not think Dean played a great game, I think Penix had a really good game against the secondary, but some of these guys like Jacob Parrish still getting into the feel of things, young secondary, might be able to turn around. So overall, I thought they played all right. They played bad and they put it together, but they're going to have to be better if they do seriously want to be a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more, and thank God for Antoine Winfield Jr. Once again coming up with a huge play.
Phenomenal play.
One of the best plays I saw all weekend. There was plenty of great plays from all over the NFL on the weekend, but just if that play is not made, that game's probably lost if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you're cooked. Yeah.
Just another notch on AWJ's belt for saving the team from suffering an L. But I wanted to come into this and be like, oh man, like Bucs finally have like their best special teams day of, game of in like the past 2 or 3 years. And that's not the case because Riley Dixon was great. Cam Johnson had a 52-yard, return and earned him special teams player of the week in the NFC. But the one person you would have not put your money on to mess things up on special teams, Chase McLaughlin, misses a field goal and then proceeds to doink an extra point as well. Yeah.
Are you
worried about that, or do you think Chase is going to get things right?
Hard to tell. Kickers
but clearly there's something going on because Koo missed. I think he missed the practice one, and he missed the regular one. So.
Kickers are weird, and the thing about kickers that really sucks about being an NFL kicker is that once you get like the yips or once you start missing kicks, it's over. There's no, you can't really like be like, let's see how it goes. So yeah, you got to hope it was something that was going on that day because, like you mentioned, Younghoe Koo also pushed his potential game time field goal wide right. It could be something to do with that, but it's a dome. It's perfect conditions to kick, right? He had some bad snaps, I think, there with McLaughlin as well, or at least one of them was. So we'll see how that goes. But something to monitor. With kickers, it's always something to monitor, right? Because if it starts going downhill, it just doesn't usually stop. And the patience required there is no patience.
I mean, how fast they moved off of Camarda too. Like that's not one area that they're willing to play around with. It
for sure. That team shouldn't be. I mean, I see some people that go like, "Oh, Matt Gay ended up being really good when he left the Bucs." I'm like, yeah, but you just can't sit around and wait for that to happen in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and but what is Matt Gay doing now?
Right. So it's tough, man. Kickers have a very tough job. They're expected to do a lot. I have faith right now, as we're speaking, that Chase McLaughlin will be able to put it together, start hitting those kicks. That's a one-game thing. If it's not, I'll be something close to monitor because when it comes to kickers in the NFL, you either make your kicks or you're out. So.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Make your kicks.
That is their job. That is
their job. They get paid millions of dollars to do it. So hopefully Chase can kind of turn things around a little bit. Excuse my dog if you guys are hearing my dog in the background. She's a little excited. We got some family staying the week, so she might be a little loud. So apologies for that, guys. But if you guys are watching anywhere other than on YouTube, please head over to YouTube. like, subscribe, click that notification button, turn your notifications on. That way you'll be alerted anytime that we are going live or anytime that we post a video, whether that's post-practice, post-game, or just a reel that we like to upload, and you'll be notified immediately in doing so. With that being said, River, let's move on to something that came across this week. Jamel Dean, pay cut, looks to have restructured his contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the front office, taking about, I believe, an $8 million per year pay cut, which
for 1 year.
For 1 year, it's steep, right? And so a lot of people are questioning, what does this mean? But ultimately, the writing is on the wall, right? Like, if you're going to take that big of a pay cut, that ultimately means you're probably going to be on your way out sooner rather than later. Whether the Buccaneers try to use him as a trade piece with this, decrease of his salary, whatever you want to call it, as a trade piece, or, this offseason and just, letting him go, be it cut because he still has 1 year left on his contract after this season. Is that what you're seeing as well, River? And if you can dig into a little bit more other than the high level stuff I was able to provide.
Yeah, it should be noted he actually does not anymore have 1 more year left on his deal because he will now hit free agency in 2026 as per this arrangement. So he will be a free agent. That's the only intrinsic benefit I can see from this. I actually have no idea why you would even take this deal.
Right.
Get paid $12 million and make them cut you is another option. But it gives Jamel Dean the freedom to go and get a fresh start during the offseason. And it gives the Bucs a way to lessen that cap hit and that burden, that $8 million burden on him, even if you do want to keep playing him this year. But to me, and there's no super insider information here, but to me, if you're making that move to do that, you're already kind of trending away from him, right? So Benjamin Morrison's gonna be back in the fold this week when he practices, with some more knowledge of the scheme and install. And I am curious to see if he ends up getting a lion's share of reps or more stuff in practice or whatever. We'll ask Todd Bowles about that at the end of the week, and I'm sure he'll be perfectly vague when he responds. But Dean has not been healthy. His play has gotten a lot more scrutiny, and that is partially, I'm willing to stick up for him here, it's partially a Todd Bowles thing where he plays him in zone a lot, and Dean's a very good man corner. But the more aggressive you are, the more easy it is to get hurt, and then you kind of spiral into that sort of thing. So it'll allow Jamel Dean to have a new fresh start. It'll allow the Bucs to move on from him relatively mess-free, if you will. So I guess that's the benefit there, but he's losing $8 entire million to do that, which is a lot of money. So very team-friendly move from Dean to a team that does not seem to want him around anymore to 2026. I would say that basically confirms that you're going to not be back. Otherwise, you could do an extension, you could do this or that, but they're not going to re-sign him in free agency in 2026 after moving it up a year from 2027. Right. Yeah. So this will almost certainly be the last year that Jamel Dean's a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, which is unfortunate, a little bittersweet because he's one of the Super Bowl winning players in that 2020 team, obviously. But this league, you got to keep getting guys in and out and do what you need to do. And the Buccaneers feel like I think, want to move on. So he's still around this year. He still might even start for a little bit going forward. He's still available as cornerback depth if he doesn't. But it looks like that marriage is kind of over. They're filing for divorce in 2026.
Yeah. Huge respect out to Dean doing that. And there was no, big announcement about it all. They probably wanted to try and keep it on the down low. Obviously, somebody doing their research was able to find that out, and now it's out there and everything. But huge shout out to what Dean's been able to provide. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, he's gone through it. He's been up, he's been down.
He's got the ring. Yeah,
he's got the ring. I think he's still a good corner. At the end of the day, I think prior to the season, PFF had him as like the 14th or 16th ranked.
PFF loves Jamel for sure
because he's just consistent. He's a great cover corner, right? Like if he's matched up man on man, you're gonna have a hard day being able to do what you got to do. Going back to what you said too, like maybe the system's not always fitting him the way that it should. There are lapses sometimes. We've seen the injury problems, and the Bucs just think, hey, maybe now it's time to cut bait. We got this young cat that we really believe in. We think he's going to be something special. We play him opposite of Zion McCollum, another young corner who we just paid to keep him around for another 3 to 4 years as well. So I get it. I get the move. And then it gives Dean a new start, just like how Carlton Davis got his new start once he was traded. So he'll be able to latch on with the team, hopefully be able to perform like Carlton was once he got to Detroit. So whatever happens. We'll just monitor the situation as it comes. But this week, River, we got another big matchup on our hands. The Houston Texans, they lost last week, so they are 0-1. And the Buccaneers are going to be heading into H-Town for Monday, the first of 2 Monday night football matchups at 7 o'clock Monday night against the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter. Those are your big names to watch. You got Jimmy Ward in the back and Derek Stingley. So it's a good team on paper. You're going to have this team on paper, but they have had their struggles, dating back to last year as well. C.J. Stroud, sophomore slump. But they're still a strong team, as mentioned. But there are some issues coming into this one. The Texans suffered a lot of injuries in their opening game. They're going to be without their starting center. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Without their starting center, as well as without Cade Stover, who I guess is kind of like tight end 1B. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess that's where he fits in that pecking order behind Schultz. So those injuries could be a big deal for the Texans. And ultimately, it could mean that the Buccaneers their defensive line could feast. But you look at the defensive line on the opposite side for the Texans, they could also have a good day going up against a makeshift, if you will, Buccaneers offensive line.
Yeah. A lot of injuries to take advantage of against the Texans offensive line. Then when you watch them play the Rams on Sunday, when their line was healthy, it was still pretty bad. Mm-hmm. So even with that prime opportunity to get after C.J. Stroud in the backfield against a beaten Houston Texans line that is already not doing great. So that's going to be tough for them. It's going to be tough for the Bucs. You've got Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. That's a real tough two-headed hydra. So you're going to have to go against them. Be on your P's and Q's. It will be up to Graham Barton, who will be playing left tackle. It will be up to Luke Gedeke, who'll be playing right tackle to try and stop that sort of thing. Atlanta's interior wasn't as tough, and they had 2 rookie edge rushers, and now you're going to be facing a much more stout group. So Baker Mayfield's got to settle down, play his game, can't get too hurried, too rushed, a little off platform, off kilter, kind of like he was against the Atlanta Falcons. Not going to be able to do that. That being said, when he was really rushed, he did have a really good EPA per play. He seems to really enjoy that sort of thing because it leaves everybody up in the intermediate areas of the field open for him. So it's interesting, Bucs don't have a good record on prime time. They played a pretty sloppy game against Atlanta. So when I initially looked at this game, I kind of was leaning towards picking the Texans to win it. And then I kind of saw what happened with the Texans against the Rams. And then you kind of see the injuries that the Texans are dealing with right now. And it makes you want to go back the other way towards Tampa Bay, who are going to, I think, be a bit more talented of a group going into this one. So it might be a close one. The Bucs want to get their lick back from 2023 when C.J. Stroud got him at the buzzer.
That was a game, wasn't it?
Yes, that was a game. So really tough, man. Really tough. I think I want to go with the Buccaneers right now, but I could flip-flop back and forth. But they're going to need to be more disciplined, more ready, less rusty against the Texans than they were against the Falcons.
Yep, I can see it. I think one thing that I think could change is...
What do your dogs think about the Texans' offensive line and how they can protect C.J. Stroud? Should we ask them, chat?
She just wants me to stop working and go hang out with her.
That's fair.
But yeah.
Don't we all? Yeah.
Do what?
I said, don't we all? Yeah.
Yeah, right. This is the life. This is the life that we live, and we choose it, guys. We choose to be out here doing this for you.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, on paper, both these teams should be evenly matched. I think the Bucs have a leg up considering the injuries and considering how weak the offensive line looks for the Texans. I think the Texans can make up for it with their defense in particular because that is their strong suit right now. Because we still have yet to see CJ get comfortable in that pocket, be able to swing the ball around like he was his rookie year. He doesn't have the weapons, that he used to have. He's really got Nico Collins. We're trying to bring along a couple rookies, including Jaden Higgins, who had less than a stellar performance last week. They're just really struggling on the opposite side of the ball. Of course, Joe Mixon banged up, not even sure if he's going to be playing this year. So you've got a running back in Nick Chubb, who has suffered season-ending injury after season-ending injury, who isn't quite the same running back that he used to be. So you should be able to take advantage on that side of the ball if you're the Bucs. But then you're going to have a strong defense going on the other end of things. Not Atlanta's defense. Like, Atlanta's defense is good. They're improving. They should be better. This defense will attack you. It's kind of like a Todd Bowles type of defense, right? Like, they're going to come at you from all angles. They're going to bring the pressure. They're going to play a lot of man-to-man. They're going to put their guys in advantageous positions to make sure you're not going to be able to hit these big playmaking plays, which is something that was very much emphasized last week, right? Like, the Buccaneers had numerous plays or attempted plays of over 20-plus yards that they were trying to hit. Baker was holding onto the ball longer than he did at any point last season. So I think that's what's going to be the difference here. I think Grizz will kind of move things around. We're going to look to get the ball out of Baker Mayfield's hands early. Can we get him out in under 3 seconds? If so, hit the first guy you see. Hit your one or two and then keep it moving, because that their defense is going to be trying to attack. And then once you see that defense start to cheat up a little bit, because you are running these dink and dunk plays, these shallow crosses, these middle of the field routes that are quick, get the ball out of the hands, they start creeping up, trying to be even more aggressive than they are because they know what you're doing. That's when you hit them over the top, and then that's when you can strike. And then I think Chase McLaughlin hits a field goal and wins it for the Tampa Bay.
There you go. Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield operates best as a quarterback when he has a very quick time to throw per the play design, when he's not thinking about too much. Sometimes when you have these long developing deep shots and he starts thinking, his feet start moving around the pocket, and then you kind of know you're about to see something spectacular, no matter how it ends up. And that's kind of where the Bucs made their bank last year into Liam Cohen, right? It was those short developing routes. It was the intermediate area. It was the screens. It was the yards that would catch, and the Bucs still had the weapons to do that. And I thought Josh Guzard, to start the Atlanta game, was just trying to hammer these deep shots, and nothing was working. And he wasn't letting Baker Mayfield kind of settle into that rhythm that he's used to. And he got a little bit better about that in the second half of the game, I thought. So he improved in that respect. That's his first game ever calling plays in an NFL game. So, there was definitely some problems, some runs on second and long I didn't love, but he's still getting a feel for his play calling, and you can hope that he can get better over the year, just like Liam Cohen did, and kind of adjusted. So that's going to be a big one. I think the Bucs defense should kind of stick to that sort of intermediate zone, work the screen game a little bit more to get away from that defensive front, and then take your deep shots when you get them, if you do get them. I think Baker's just so good in the intermediate zone. I would try and focus on that and let him get into a comfortable rhythm and not make him think too much about where he's throwing or how he's going, because he's really, really good. If you just point and shoot him in the direction he needs to go, quick release, very fast. That's how I think he operates best as a quarterback, and I think Josh Guzard could use him a little bit more like that.
Yeah, I think, and that's, building off of that, I think when Baker's not thinking, it helps him be better at diagnosing. Like, when he's not thinking, he's out there playing ball. He's not trying to think through it all.
Yeah.
It allows him to play freely. It allows him to actually be smarter because he's not thinking about things. He's just going off of instinct. He's going off of what he knows should be there. So I think that'll be a good point of emphasis too. And then, coming from last week's up and down roller coaster type game with pulling out a W, certain players were seen getting more attention than others. Maybe that was game script. Maybe that was just how, the defense was playing them, however it may be. Who do you want to see more of, or who do you want to make more of an impact in this game against Houston that will kind of sway this game more so in a favor of it being more than a one-score game?
Oh, that's a good question. There are a few obvious candidates you can go for. I think Sirvocea Dennis could have a big game, right? And if he was able to kind of tighten up there, that would be good to be able to get his coverage skills down. That would kind of help secure the middle of the field. I think it's going to have to be defensive. I mean, the offense has been doing some decent work. 3 touchdowns. You'd like to see Bucky Irving rip off a few more.
I was gonna say either that, or did you want to see Rachaad White get more than 22% of the touches there?
Sure. Yeah, the run game, for sure. And Rachaad White in the screen game, Rachaad had a screen that he got against Atlanta that he almost took to the house.
Almost.
Xavier Watts, who I loved coming out of Notre Dame, made a phenomenal play to trip him up there. But
he almost had a pick too.
He did. He was flying around. I was a big Xavier Watts. let the record show. I think maybe Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, definitely on the offensive side could be a big impact player. Get some good chunk yardage, and then on the defense, I think it's sirvocea, Dennis, or someone like Yaya Diaby or Haason Reddick getting 1 or 2 sacks on CJ Stroud. The Rams feasted in that area. Byron Young and Gerard Verse obviously are both very, very good players. But Haason Reddick and Yaya Diaby could also be very good players. So if they can do that against the Texans line, then why not those two? So I think edge rushing, linebacker, and rushing on the offense, those are the 3 kind of points that I think they could really open up a lead on if they can consistently work those 3 areas.
Yeah, and that's where the game is going to be won, right? Like, can you
establish... The trenches, as always. It's the trenches, guys.
It?
It's the trenches all the way down. All the way down.
Because even if you go running game, you're like, okay, well, that doesn't go anywhere if your offensive line's not blocking.
Right. Oh, that's trenches. That's trenches, baby. That's trenches.
We love the trench mob.
We do.
At BucsGameday.com. Yeah, we cannot hide our enthusiasm. That being said, River, we're not going to do... Man, I really want to throw you for the loop and say we are going to do it, so we're going to do it. So, what is your score prediction?
Guys, I want you guys to know before we did this, Caleb looked at me and he says, well, you don't have to do a score prediction. And I'm like, cool, I don't need to do it on Wednesday. Here he is. Deceiver. Here he is. Make me do a score prediction.
It's for content, baby. It's content.
It is for content. Everything's content. I think Chase McLaughlin has a better day at the office. Give me like a 26-17 Buccaneers. I think the Bucs front will disrupt CJ Stroud a good deal. This Falcons offensive line was pretty bad with all the people out. I think this Texans line might be worse. So I think they'll get there, disrupt them. CJ Stroud, still a very good quarterback, by the way. I'm still on the CJ Stroud train. A lot of people start talking on Twitter who have no right to do so after that game. He's still got it. But you can disrupt them with a bad offensive line. And I think the offense is in a little bit better rhythm. They managed to stay away from the really harsh front. Keep the ball away from Derek Stingley, who will be a game changer if you throw the ball his way. And score some points to Emeka Egbuka and Mike Evans. Mike Evans, softer day against Atlanta. He might be looking to go for one against the Texans. Remind these people who he is. Stunt on them boys, Mike. So
he still only needs like over 58 yards per game for him to reach 1,000 yards. So
that's true. If we are on a 1,000-yard watch, guys, Mike needs a little bit over 58 yards per game. So I think we're on it. So that's I'm gonna go with an early 26-17 with the disclaimer that I'm not beholden to that for my official predictions at BucsGameday.com. We'll put those out on Saturday, guys, and it might not look the same because this is, quite frankly, this is entrapment. Is what this is. I was promised one thing and was given another, and I don't know about that, guys. So that's just my immediate guess. Under pressure, under duress.
Hey,
I feel like Michael Penix and Haason Reddick's right there. That's how you made me feel. So
high pressure performer right there, man. High pressure performer. You should have just stuck in like our friend D over on YouTube, man. You could.
I could have done that. You know what, Caleb? What's your score prediction? Huh? What is it? What are you thinking? Go ahead.
I hate to do it too, but now I've kind of done it to myself.
Oh yeah. What is it?
I'm gonna go. It's gonna be weird. I'm going with a weird score. I'm going to go with 23-18.
That is weird. And it's actually kind of similar to mine, so you're not going to do that. That's fine. But
I'm not sold on either one of these teams yet. We'll see where it goes. I think like I said, I think Chase kind of comes up big in this one. He's gonna be
Money McFarlane.
Yeah.
He's back. Yeah,
he's gonna put on a show for us in NRG Stadium on Monday night. Really, really excited for his comeback.
Yeah, we got Marcel here saying who will score first, Evans or Egbuka. It's a very good question. I thought it was interesting that Baker Mayfield, after the game, told us when we were there in Atlanta, he said, shout out to Mike Evans. He drew so much attention away from Emeka Egbuka that Egbuka was able to get these 2 touchdowns just by being one-on-one. And I'm wondering if D'Amico Ryans and the Texans will overcorrect a little bit after seeing the Rook get after it the way he did and how polished he was and how well he worked those one-on-one matchups. I'm going to say Mike Evans scores first in this game. I think they're going to keep their eye off him for just a second, and I think he might feast.
Yeah, and Baker's going to love that. You leave Mike one-on-one with anybody, and guess what happens there? Beankiss agrees, saying, Mike, appreciate you hopping in here. Haven't seen you in a minute. Thanks for coming in, Beankiss. Yeah, hard to argue that. I mean, who's not going to adjust when you have a rookie go off for 2 touchdowns and 67 yards in his debut in the NFL? And it's just like you got to be thinking, if you're opposing coaches, you're like Godwin's not even playing, but like now we've still got to make up for 2 very talented, wide receivers, and we have to figure out how to double them both. Like you can't do that. So.
You can't really. So
it's just a challenge. But I'd go Mike too.
I think it's gonna be Mike.
It'd be Mike. Yeah. Mike was very excited for Emeka to get his first one, so Emeka should be able to return the favor this time around. And I think we're just all hoping at this point that it doesn't turn out like it did in 2023, where it's just like.
Well, it almost did on Sunday, and the Bucs evaded that. So they got to be able to put opponents away, and they did last year. In many instances, they were able to go out and thoroughly beat a team. And we're all waiting for the first game this year where they're able to do that, and it could be this one on Monday. But if you want to be a Super Bowl winning team, you have to go out and beat teams definitively and work your will on them. Kind of like, the Ravens, the 40-25 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's the type of beat down you want to put on a team without the other thing happening. That's kind of the will that you have to impose. So could it be against the Texans? We'll see. But might be a close one, might not be, but you got to be able to beat teams. You can beat this Texans team, go out and do it.
Yeah, you have the opportunity, right? Like this is your time. Take advantage of it. Most people will have you going 1-1 through these games. Start off 2-0. Most people will probably even have you going 0-2 in these games because they picked Atlanta to win the NFC South. So
yeah,
take advantage of this opportunity. Tristan Wirfs is on his way back sooner rather than later. Chris Godwin's on his way back probably around week 6, week 7, somewhere around then. And then you get Jalen McMillan back probably around week 9, week 10. And then everything's golden roads from here on out if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At least that is the hope. First and foremost, we're going to focus on one game at a time, and that's Monday Night Football with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facing off against the Houston Texans. Super excited for it. First Monday night game of the year for us. Anything else you want to add, River, before we go ahead and log off for the night?
I don't think so. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully the Bucs can get a primetime win, and I will log off with the ever classic Fire the Cannons.
Fire the Cannons, baby. Hey, we're going to have a good week this week. All right, Riv, go Bucs.
Let's do it. Go Bucs.